Nobody talks about the toilets. When researchers discuss buried buildings and hidden first floors, they focus on the grand architecture, the cathedrals, the bridges, the palaces. But I became obsessed with something far more mundane: the bathrooms. Because when you start examining photographs of excavated buildings from the 1800s, when you look at what workers found beneath street level, you discover something that does not fit the official narrative. Sophisticated heated toilet systems, radiant floor warming, plumbing that rivals modern engineering, all buried meters underground, all supposedly built centuries before such technology ever existed. And nobody wants to explain why. The official story is straightforward. We are told that indoor plumbing was rudimentary throughout most of the 1800s. Chamber pots and outhouses were the norm for ordinary people. Even wealthy households relied on servants carrying water upstairs and waste back down. Heated bathrooms were a luxury that emerged only in the 20th century, a product of modern engineering, industrial manufacturing, and decades of technological progress. The narrative is clean and simple. Humanity advanced slowly from primitive conditions to the comfort we enjoy today. Stone by stone, invention by invention, we built our way toward civilization. But when you actually examine the evidence, when you look at the photographs and architectural records with your own eyes, that story begins to collapse. I spent weeks going through archives in Vienna. The city has extensive photographic documentation from the 1850s through the 1880s, a period of major urban reconstruction following various political upheavals. What I found in those images disturbed me deeply. Building after building showed toilet rooms with elaborate heating systems, radiant floor tiles arranged in distinctive geometric patterns, ventilation channels built directly into the walls, heat distribution networks that connected bathroom facilities to central warming systems of unknown origin. These were not retrofits. The heating elements were integrated into the original masonry. The tile patterns continued unbroken beneath walls and door frames. Contemporary accounts from engineers working on these buildings describe their confusion in detail. They did not understand how the heating systems functioned. The technology did not match anything in their professional training. In one report from 1871, an Austrian engineer named Friedrich Hoffmann documented his examination of a toilet room in a municipal building scheduled for renovation. The floor contained a network of ceramic channels that distributed warm air beneath the tiles. The system maintained consistent temperature without any visible fuel source. Hoffmann wrote that he traced the channels for nearly 30 meters before losing them in a section of the building that had been sealed off and filled with rubble decades earlier. He noted that the construction quality exceeded anything he had seen in modern buildings of that era. The municipal building was supposedly constructed in 1823. I found similar accounts from Prague. Workers excavating a new sewer line in 1878 broke through into an intact bathroom chamber, approximately 4 meters below street level. The room contained a complete toilet system with heated seating, warm water circulation, and drainage that connected to a larger underground network extending in multiple directions. The ceramic fixtures showed no signs of age or decay, despite supposedly being buried for generations. Contemporary photographs show workers standing in the excavated space, their faces turned upward toward the modern street level far above their heads. Expressions of bewilderment captured forever. The official explanation was that the chamber must have been a forgotten Roman bath, somehow preserved beneath the medieval city. But the construction techniques did not match Roman methods. The ceramic glazing used compounds that were not identified in European manufacturing until the late 1800s. And Romans did not build in Prague. The Roman Empire never extended that far north. The explanation made no historical sense, but it was offered anyway because the alternative was too disturbing to consider. Think about it. How does a sophisticated heated bathroom end up 4 meters underground in a city that supposedly had no advanced sanitation until decades later? How does it get buried so completely that an entire street was built on top of it without anyone noticing? How does the ceramic glazing contain compounds that were not supposed to exist yet? The pattern repeated in city after city. London, St. Petersburg, Moscow, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago. Everywhere I searched, I found the same anomalies. Heated toilet rooms in buildings that were too old to have them. Sophisticated plumbing systems buried beneath streets that were raised after some unspecified event. Engineering that did not match the technological capabilities we are told existed at the time of supposed construction. In Boston, excavation records from 1882 describe workers digging a foundation for a new commercial building in the downtown area. Approximately 3 meters down, they encountered a fully intact bathroom facility with heated floors and running water connections. The pipes were made from an alloy that the examining engineer could not identify using any known metallurgical reference. The ceramic toilet fixtures were precisely manufactured, with tolerances measured in fractions of an inch. The workers assumed they had uncovered some forgotten experiment by a wealthy eccentric, but they could not explain how the facility had become buried so deeply beneath solid, undisturbed ground. The building above that location was only 40 years old at the time of excavation. The land had been a busy commercial street for as long as anyone could remember. No one had any memory or record of construction at that depth. No one could explain how soil had accumulated so quickly over such sophisticated infrastructure. I started measuring the burial depths across different cities, comparing excavation reports and architectural surveys. The numbers were remarkably consistent. 3 meters in Prague, 4 meters in Vienna, 3.5 meters in Boston, 4 meters in St. Petersburg. The same approximate depth across different continents, in buildings that were supposedly constructed at different times by different civilizations using different methods. That consistency haunted me. If these bathroom systems were anomalies, random forgotten experiments scattered across history, you would expect random depths, random locations, random construction methods. But the evidence showed something else entirely. A pattern. A uniformity that suggested these were not isolated incidents, but remnants of something much larger. Something that had been buried all at once across the entire world. I expanded my research across continents. London, Paris, Moscow, St. Petersburg, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Berlin, Rome, Madrid. Everywhere I looked, I found the same impossible evidence. Heated toilet systems buried meters below modern street level. Sophisticated plumbing that predated the official invention of sophisticated plumbing. Engineering that should not exist in buildings that supposedly came from an era of chamber pots and outhouses. The consistency was staggering. The implications were terrifying. In St. Petersburg, a city we are told was built from scratch in 1703 by Peter the Great on empty swampland. Excavation records from the 1880s describe discovery after discovery of underground bathroom facilities. Workers digging foundations for new construction would frequently break through into intact heated chambers that no one knew existed. The systems showed the same characteristics as those found in Vienna and Prague. Radiant floor heating with ceramic channel distribution, fixtures with precise manufacturing tolerances, pipe alloys that defied contemporary metallurgical analysis. The official explanation was always the same. These must be remnants of some earlier forgotten construction. Perhaps experimental facilities built by wealthy aristocrats with resources beyond normal means. Perhaps Roman or Byzantine influence somehow reaching this far north despite no historical record of such contact. The explanations never quite fit the evidence. But they were offered anyway. And people accepted them because questioning further led to uncomfortable places. I found a report from a French engineer named Marcel Dubois, who examined heated bathroom systems in 3 different cities during the 1870s: Paris, Lyon, and surprisingly, Philadelphia. Dubois had been hired as a consultant for urban renovation projects in each location. He noted with increasing alarm that the construction techniques were identical across all 3 locations despite the vast distances separating them. The same ceramic glazing formulas, the same channel dimensions for heat distribution, the same pipe fittings and joint methods, the same decorative tile patterns. Dubois concluded his report with a question that haunts me still. How could 3 cities on 2 continents, separated by an ocean that supposedly could not be easily crossed during the era of alleged construction, share identical bathroom construction methods that none of their contemporary engineers could replicate or even fully understand? The technical anomalies accumulated with every archive I examined. In Moscow, workers found bathroom pipes made from an alloy containing metals that were not commercially available until decades after the building was supposedly constructed. In Chicago, excavators discovered ceramic toilet fixtures with a glazing compound that chemists could not identify using any known European or American manufacturing process. The chemical signature matched nothing in their reference libraries. In Berlin, an entire underground bathroom complex was found with a heating system that maintained temperature through some mechanism the examining engineers could not determine. There was no furnace, no coal storage, no connection to any fuel source they could locate anywhere in the building or surrounding area. And yet the floors were warm when they broke through the sealed chamber. Contemporary accounts describe the bafflement of trained engineers confronting these discoveries. Men who had studied the most advanced construction techniques of their era stood in excavated chambers and admitted freely in their professional reports that they did not understand what they were looking at. The craftsmanship exceeded their capabilities. The materials exceeded their knowledge. The engineering exceeded their education. Here is where it becomes impossible to ignore. If these bathroom systems were built at the depths where they were found, the builders would have had to excavate enormous pits in the middle of functioning cities, construct sophisticated heated facilities at the bottom of these pits while somehow keeping water out, and then immediately bury their own work beneath meters of carefully compacted soil. That makes no sense. No engineer would design infrastructure that way. No civilization would invest the tremendous resources required to build advanced heated bathrooms only to cover them up before anyone could use them. But if these systems were built at ground level and then buried by something catastrophic, everything falls into place. The proportions make sense. The construction methods make sense. The geographic distribution makes sense. A single catastrophic event affecting the entire world would bury infrastructure at similar depths across different continents. It would preserve facilities suddenly, without warning, leaving them intact beneath the mud. It would explain why the technology seemed so advanced for its supposed era. Because it was not from that era at all. It was from before. From a civilization that existed before the catastrophe struck. I started mapping the burial depths more systematically, creating spreadsheets and charts comparing data from dozens of cities. 3 meters in Central Europe, 3 to 4 meters in Russia, 3 meters in the American Northeast. The consistency pointed toward a single event, not gradual accumulation over centuries. You do not get uniform burial depths across continents through random garbage accumulation and periodic street raising. You get uniform depths through uniform deposition, through a flood of mud so massive and so sudden that it covered the world in a geological instant. The toilets were telling me something that historians refuse to acknowledge. There was a civilization before ours. A civilization sophisticated enough to build heated bathroom systems that modern engineers of the 1800s struggled to understand. A civilization that spanned continents, sharing construction techniques and manufacturing methods across oceans we are told could not be easily crossed. And something buried that civilization beneath meters of sediment in what must have been a very short period of time. Days, perhaps. Weeks at most. Not centuries of gradual accumulation. A catastrophe. The patents tell a different story than official history acknowledges. Between 1850 and 1890, hundreds of patents were filed across Europe and America for heated bathroom systems, advanced toilet designs, and sophisticated plumbing fixtures. Inventors in multiple countries simultaneously developed remarkably similar solutions to the same problems. When you examine the patent drawings, when you compare them carefully to photographs of excavated bathroom facilities from the same period, the similarities are unmistakable. The same designs, the same proportions, the same engineering principles, the same decorative elements. Were these inventors creating something new? Or were they copying something they had found buried beneath their cities? I located a journal entry from an American inventor who filed several plumbing patents in 1876. He described visiting an excavation site in Philadelphia where workers had uncovered an underground bathroom facility while digging a foundation. He spent 3 days examining the ceramic fixtures and heating channels in detail, making sketches and taking measurements. His subsequent patent applications matched almost exactly what he had documented in that buried chamber. The dimensions were identical. The material specifications were identical. The functional principles were identical. He was not inventing. He was recovering. He was reverse engineering technology from a civilization that came before. The implications are staggering. The great sanitation revolution of the mid-1800s was not a revolution at all. It was a reconstruction. Engineers and inventors across the Western world were excavating the remnants of an earlier civilization and reverse engineering what they found. The technology was not being created through innovative genius. It was being rediscovered through careful archaeology, and the official history was written afterward to hide this truth, to maintain the narrative of steady human progress from primitive to modern. Think about why this matters. Sanitation infrastructure reveals a civilization's true sophistication more honestly than any other measure. You cannot fake advanced plumbing. You cannot accidentally stumble into heated bathroom systems and precise ceramic manufacturing. These things require accumulated knowledge, industrial capacity, metallurgical expertise, and engineering education that takes generations to develop. They require supply chains and manufacturing facilities and trained craftsmen. If there was a global civilization with heated toilets before the catastrophe, that civilization was not primitive. It was advanced. Perhaps more advanced in certain ways than we are comfortable admitting. And if they lied about the toilets, what else are they lying about? What other technologies were rediscovered rather than invented? What other history has been rewritten to hide the truth? The suppression is systematic and ongoing. Academic institutions dismiss this evidence as anomalies, not worthy of serious investigation. Researchers who ask questions about buried infrastructure are marginalized and ridiculed. The official narrative is protected at all costs by gatekeepers who control what gets published and what gets funding. Anyone who suggests that heated bathroom systems predate the official timeline is labeled a crank, a conspiracy theorist, someone not worthy of serious consideration or professional engagement. But the evidence exists. It sits in archives and excavation records across the world, hiding in plain sight for anyone willing to look. Photographs of buried chambers, engineering reports describing impossible discoveries, contemporary accounts of baffled experts confronting technology they could not explain. The documentation is extensive. It has simply been ignored. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I walk through old cities differently now. I look at grand buildings, and I think about what lies beneath them. I see streets and imagine the buried world 3 meters down. I wonder about the people who built those heated bathrooms, their level of knowledge, their daily lives, their understanding of the world. I think about what happened to them. What kind of catastrophe could bury an entire civilization's infrastructure under meters of mud in what must have been a very short period of time? What kind of event could erase such sophisticated technology from human memory so completely? And I think about why we are not supposed to know any of this. Maybe the truth is too destabilizing. Maybe acknowledging that advanced civilizations can be destroyed and forgotten within historical memory would change how we see our own society. Maybe it would make us question assumptions about progress, about stability, about the permanence of everything we have built. Maybe it would force us to confront an uncomfortable question that those in power would prefer we never ask. If it happened before, could it happen again? The heated toilet systems are still there. Beneath the streets of Vienna and Prague and Boston and St. Petersburg and dozens of other cities, buried chambers wait in darkness. Ceramic fixtures that puzzled 19th century engineers. Heating systems that operated through mechanisms no one could identify. Pipe alloys that no metallurgist could explain. Evidence of a world we have been taught never existed. Preserved in mud, waiting to be rediscovered. The official history says humanity progressed slowly from primitive to modern, inventing each technology through genius and hard work. The toilets say otherwise. They whisper of a civilization that achieved sophistication we are only now beginning to recover. They speak of catastrophe and loss and deliberate forgetting. They testify to a world buried beneath our feet. Nobody wants to talk about the toilets. Nobody wants to explain how heated bathroom systems ended up meters underground in cities across the world. Nobody wants to acknowledge what the evidence clearly shows. But the evidence does not care about official narratives. The buried chambers do not care about academic consensus. They sit beneath our feet, silent witnesses to a world we are not supposed to remember. They have waited in darkness for generations. They will continue waiting long after we are gone. The toilets remember, and now, so do you.